When approaching a school bus stopped with its stop arm extended, drivers should A. Come to a complete stop and wait to proceed. B. Honk their horn before passing the bus on its left. C. Continue driving when they think most kids are probably done exiting the bus. D. Pass the bus before its door opens. A. Come to a complete stop and wait to proceed. When approaching a stopped school bus that is using its stop signal, a driver is required to come to a complete stop. They should not proceed until the stop arm is withdrawn. This road sign means A. Hunting area. B. State park. C. Deer crossing. D. Wildlife preserve. C. Deer crossing. This sign warns that deer cross the roadway in the area. You should slow down, be alert, and be ready to stop. Seat belts are most effective when they are worn by A. the person driving the car. B. passengers when they are on a long drive. C. all occupants of a car being driven on an expressway. D. all occupants of a car every time the car is driven. D. all occupants of a car every time the car is driven. When you drive, make sure each person in your vehicle wears a seat belt. In the event of a crash, a person without a seat belt becomes a flying object and a danger to each person in the vehicle. Distracted driving may be caused by A. eating, drinking, or smoking. B. talking or texting on a cellular phone. C. changing a radio station or CD. D. all of the above. D. all of the above. It is estimated that drivers make 200 decisions for every mile traveled, making it vital that drivers focus their full attention on the task of driving. Performing any additional task can create a dangerous distraction.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
When approaching a traffic signal displaying a steady yellow arrow, drivers A. should merge into a lane in the direction of the arrow. B. should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. C. may turn left after yielding to oncoming traffic and pedestrians. D. have the right of way and may expect oncoming traffic to stop for them. B. should slow to a stop, if it is safe to do so. A steady yellow arrow indicates that a red arrow is about to appear. Stop unless you are already within the intersection. This road sign means A. cars in right lane must slow down. B. no left turn. C. merge. D. pass only in the right lane. C. merge. This sign indicates a merge ahead. It warns that two lanes of traffic moving in the same direction are about to become one. Collisions are more likely to happen when A. all vehicles are traveling at about the same speed. B. one lane of traffic is traveling faster than the other lanes. C. one vehicle is traveling faster or slower than the flow of traffic. C. one vehicle is traveling faster or slower than the flow of traffic. Collisions are more likely to happen when one driver moves faster or slower than the other vehicles on the road. Driving faster than other traffic increases your chance of being involved in a collision. Driving more slowly than other traffic is also dangerous because it can increase the risk of a rear-end collision with your vehicle or cause other drivers to swerve to avoid hitting you. You approach an emergency vehicle that is stopped with its lights flashing. You must A. Slow down. If possible, change lanes so you will not drive next to the stopped emergency vehicle. B. Drive to the right side of the road and stop. C. Stay in your lane and continue to drive at the same speed. D. Accelerate to quickly pass the stopped vehicle. If you experience a tire blowout, A. Take your foot off the gas. B. Do not immediately use your brakes. C. Gradually slow down and pull off the side of the road. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If you experience a tire blowout, take your foot off the gas pedal and do not immediately apply the brakes. Gradually slow down before gently applying the brakes and pulling off the side of the road. A railroad crossbuck sign should be treated the same as a yield sign. A. True. B. False. A. True. A railroad crossing crossbuck sign is considered a yield sign and a driver must yield the right-of-way to any oncoming trains and railroad equipment. Before switching on the ignition, you should A. Be sure only backseat passengers have buckled their seat belts. B. Be sure only adult passengers have buckled their seat belts. C. Be sure only child passengers have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. D. Be sure all of the vehicle's occupants have buckled their seat belts. Develop a routine for entering and leaving your car. Before switching on the ignition, buckle your safety belt and see that all passengers do likewise. Which of the following is true regarding seat belts and child restraints in vehicles? A. You should never place an infant or small child in the front seat of a vehicle with airbags. B. An airbag can be dangerous to an infant or small child, even in a low-speed collision. C. You should always make sure all your passengers are using a seat belt or child restraint. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before you drive, always fasten your seat belt and make sure all your passengers are using seat belts or child restraints. Studies have shown that if you use seat belts, your chances of being hurt or killed in a traffic crash are greatly reduced. Children age 12 and under should always ride properly restrained in a rear seat. Never put a rear-facing infant restraint in the front seat of a vehicle with a front passenger airbag. How can you help prevent rear-end collisions? A. Avoid sudden stops. B. Before stopping, check your mirrors and blind spots for traffic. C. Release the gas pedal and let your vehicle slow before applying the brakes. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Stopping suddenly can make it difficult for drivers behind you to avoid a rear-end collision. When stopping, release the accelerator to allow your vehicle to slow. Press the brake pedal by applying steady pressure, activating your brake lights and causing the vehicle to stop smoothly. A pentagon-shaped sign is a A. Stop sign. B. Regulatory sign. C. School zone or school crossing sign. C. School zone or school crossing sign. A five-sided sign is used to alert drivers to a school zone. Some pentagonal signs specifically indicate crosswalks within school zones where children or other pedestrians may be present. If you approach a traffic light with a red signal and a police officer directs you to go through the intersection without stopping, you should A. Stop until the light turns green. B. Go through the intersection without stopping. C. Come to a complete stop before proceeding. B. Go through the intersection without stopping. Instructions given by police officers directing traffic always override posted traffic signals and signs. Follow the officer's instructions. You notice a vehicle defect which may affect the safe operation of your vehicle. You should A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. B. Correct the defect when you can afford it. C. Drive the vehicle at slower speeds. D. Drive normally. A. Correct the defect as soon as possible. Any defect that may affect the safe operation of a vehicle should be corrected as soon as possible. Defects should be corrected before the vehicle is driven. When passing another vehicle on a road with two lanes traveling in opposite directions, you should A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. B. Remain in the left lane if you intend to turn left. C. Return to the right side of the roadway immediately. D. Drive in either lane. A. Return to the driving lane when there's enough room between you and the vehicle you passed. When passing another vehicle on a two-lane roadway, you must return to the right side of the roadway when there is enough room between you and the vehicle you have passed. The act of turning your head and checking your blind spot before changing lanes, driving away from a curb, or merging your vehicle into traffic is A. A bad driving habit. B. A good driving habit. C. Unnecessary. D. Not necessary if you use the rearview mirror. B. A good driving habit. When changing lanes, it is important to check your blind spots. Do this by looking over your shoulder toward the next lane. Do not rely only on your mirrors. You come to an intersection that is blocked by other traffic. You should A. Go slowly until the traffic ahead moves. B. Get as close as possible to the car in front of you. C. Stay out of the intersection until you can pass through. D. Sound your horn to make the cars move up. C. Stay out of the intersection until you can pass through. You cannot enter an intersection if traffic is backed up on the other side and you cannot get completely through the intersection. Wait until traffic ahead clears so you do not block the intersection. If stopped by law enforcement while driving a motor vehicle in the District of Columbia, you are responsible for providing your valid driver license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance. A. True. B. False. A. True. If stopped by law enforcement while driving a motor vehicle in the District of Columbia, you will be responsible for providing your valid driver license, vehicle registration, and proof of insurance. Failure to comply may result in a fine and/or arrest. You can help keep the driver behind you a safe distance away from your vehicle by A. Driving 10 miles per hour faster than the car behind you. B. Driving 10 miles per hour slower than the car behind you. C. Maintaining a steady speed. You hit a parked vehicle and can't find the owner. What must you do? A. Call your insurance company when you get home. B. Wait for the owner to return. C. Leave a note with your name and address on the parked vehicle. C. Leave a note with your name and address on the parked vehicle. If you hit a parked vehicle or other property, you must leave a note with your name, phone number, and address securely attached to the vehicle or property that you hit. Which of the following must you obey over the other three? A. A steady red light. B. A police officer. C. A stop sign. D. A flashing red light. B. A police officer. Directions given by traffic officers take precedence over signs, signals, and pavement markings. People authorized to direct traffic include police officers, fire police, highway work area flag persons, and school crossing persons. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Intersection ahead. C. Merging traffic from the right. C. Merging traffic from the right. Warning signs are usually yellow with black markings. They alert you to conditions that are immediately ahead. This sign tells drivers to prepare to allow traffic to safely merge from the right. If you come to an intersection and your view to the side is blocked, you should A. Slow down and look both ways. B. Maintain your speed and look both ways. C. Stop, then inch forward until you can see clearly in both directions.